Good morning, students. I hope all of you are fine and you have gone through the topic we discussed in the previous video. In our previous video, beta, we discussed about the division of labor, how it occurs in multicellular organisms as well as in a unicellular organism, or we can say how the division of labor occurs within a single cell. Then we discussed about the basic structure or basic organization of a cell. In that, there were three components. One is the plasma membrane, other one is the nucleus, and the third one is the cytoplasm, which contains many cell organelles. Plasma membrane, as we discussed earlier also, is the outermost covering of the cell, which separates the cell's external environment from the internal environment. Moreover, it separates one cell from the other. It is made up of lipids and proteins, and it is a flexible membrane. And the most important characteristic which we studied about plasma membrane was that it is a selectively permeable membrane, means it allows or permits the entry and exit of materials in and out of the cell. In our today's topic, we will be discussing how the substances move in and out of the cell through the plasma membrane. So, the movement of substances in and out of the cell. This movement takes place via two processes. Number one is diffusion and number two is osmosis. Till now, beta, you might have heard about the process of diffusion in chemistry also. So, it is the spontaneous or the sudden movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. In chemistry, you might have discussed that experiment that your mother is cooking the food in the kitchen and you are able to receive its smell. You are sitting in the other corner of the room. Moreover, you burn an incense stick and the fumes or the fragrance, it spreads up in the entire room. How? Because the particles that get vaporized on burning of the incense stick, they are gaseous particles. They move, they spread up, and they move from a region of higher concentration to the lower concentration, that is in the other corner of the room where there is no concentration of such particles. Same way diffusion takes place in the living organisms also, in the plants as well as in the animals. How? In an animal cell, the external environment, in the external environment, concentration of oxygen is high, but inside the cell it is low. Every cell needs oxygen. What happens is, in the environment, the concentration of oxygen is 21%, but the concentration of carbon dioxide is quite less. So, when an organism needs oxygen, oxygen moves through the plasma membrane, enters into the cell from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. But slowly, that oxygen is utilized by the cell, by the organism, and during the process of respiration, this oxygen starts producing, during respiration, carbon dioxide starts producing inside the cell. Now, the concentration of carbon dioxide is more in the cell, and we find that carbon dioxide is released out of the cell, that is in the external environment where the concentration is less. So, in an animal cell, oxygen enters in the cell and carbon dioxide moves out of the cell by the process of diffusion, that is from a region of higher concentration to lower, and or from a region of higher concentration to a lower, as we have seen. But beta, opposite to this happens in case of a plant cell, in leaves especially, where photosynthesis is taken place. At that time, there oxygen is produced inside the cell. So the oxygen moves out of the cell and carbon dioxide moves in the cell. So it is via diffusion through which the movement of gases across the plasma membrane takes place. Now the another process which is responsible for the movement of substances is the osmosis. But remember, osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, and our plasma membrane is semi-permeable, rather selectively permeable membrane. In this topic beta further, we are going to discuss that there could be three kinds of solutions. There could be hypotonic solution, there could be hypertonic solution, and the third one is the isotonic solution. Now when an animal or a plant cell is put in a solution of sugar or salt in water, means in the water salt or sugar has been dissolved. So the solution can be a hypotonic solution, means it is a pure water in which we have kept the cell, or there is very little concentration of solute in it. Such a solution, which is a dilute solution which has more water, is called as hypotonic solution. When a cell is put in a hypotonic solution, then the net movement of water is inside the cell. Remember beta, water can move in and out of the cell both ways through the plasma membrane, but net movement, more water enters inside the cell, so the cell gains water and it's swell up. So when a cell is put in a hypotonic solution, it will gain water and it will swell up. Similarly, when a cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, now bache, hypertonic solution is the concentrated solution where there is more amount of solute but very less amount of water. In this concentrated solution, you will find more sugar or salt than inside the cell. Now in this case, what will happen? Since the concentration of water is lesser outside as compared to inside of the cell, more water moves out of the cell. Again remember, water can move in both the directions, but the net movement of water will be out of the cell and cell will shrink. So when a cell is put in a hypertonic solution, the cell shrinks. Third is the case when the cell is put in a isotonic solution, that is when there is equal concentration of water in and out of the cell. In such a isotonic solution beta, there is no change in the cell size. This is isotonic solution. Equal amount of water move in and out of the cell. There is no net movement and cell will stay same in size, no change in the size of the cell. Based on this discussion, we must be able to answer these questions. What happens when a de-shelled egg is placed in pure water? De-shelled egg means the outer hard shell of the egg is removed. When it is removed by putting it in a hydrochloric acid, then the egg yolk is covered with a thin plasma membrane only, and that plasma membrane will allow the water to enter in, because pure water is a hypotonic solution and that de-shelled egg will swell up. And same way, when it is put in a salt solution, it will shrink by losing water. Same activity can be performed with dried raisins or apricots. If apricots or raisins are kept in pure water or in a hypotonic solution, they will swell up by gaining water, but when they are kept in concentrated solution, they will shrink. and the other question is, how does the movement of gases take place in and out of the cell? The movement of gases take place via the process of diffusion, which we have already discussed along with this example. Now in my next video beta, you will find the answers to all the questions which we have done till now, and I will be discussing these questions with you in my doubt session, maybe on Saturday or tomorrow. I will send you the message.